Hey, you guys, I'm back. I'm back. So the whole, hey, Miss Katricia. So the whole internet in my house went down. So everybody's phone went off. So I found out, I guess you can still hear my voice. I couldn't see anything moving in either camera. All my cameras just froze up. So I am back. Give you guys some time to come on back in. I appreciate it. Thank you guys. I know we were doing some question and answers. I can't look back at the other questions, but I know Mr. Naylor was on, Miss Kim was on there. Thank you guys so much. Those were the those people that have my new subscribers. Thank you guys so much for subscribing. And once again, if you have not already, please take the opportunity to subscribe to my YouTube channel. It is Dr. Carmen Bryant, Overcoming Narcissist Abuse. I'm going to change the title. I'm going to change it. Well, hey there, Miss Yolanda. Thank you so much. I'm glad you can hear me. I just couldn't see anything. I actually was frozen on camera like this. So that was not cute. Hey there, Miss Kim. I'm back. I don't know. I think everybody, here where I live at, I think everybody was on the internet at the same time. So like everything froze. My camera, both the iPad and the iPod, and my daughter's telephone in the back, everything froze. So I had to go and reset the whole internet on the other side of the house. So I apologize, but I am back. Thank you so much. Like I said, being frozen on screen like this is not cute. So I apologize. And I think that is probably now a part of the video. So you guys get to see it on the other side of the video. I don't know if the video froze, but I know when I looked on it, I was still frozen on camera like that. So, but you guys are more than welcome to ask me any question about narcissist abuse. And I think earlier we were talking about narcissism. And I do want to add that a lot of times people within the court system or just in general, when you're talking to someone, it's very frustrating when you're trying to explain to someone that you have been with or are with a narcissist, because most people do not understand what narcissistic personality disorder is. And so to say that someone is a narcissist, it sounds almost as if you're just hurling an insult. And I have experienced that many times before. When you say the person is a narcissist, they kind of look at you and kind of blow it off because, number one, they don't understand what you're saying. Number two, they don't understand the details of how serious this is. I mean, what more can you say? You're with a serial killer. What can you possibly say to alert people? And I think it's very relative because a lot of people have been in relationships with narcissists. Number one, they didn't know it. And I've had a lot of women say, and thank you, Mr. Naylor, for being on here, because you are a male that has experienced being in a relationship with a narcissist. And hopefully these videos, even though I created the program to kind of talk to women, that are coming out of domestic violence and especially narcissist abuse, I'm very thankful because I tried to integrate in there that men go through the same thing that women do. Is just that women are, females, they want to dominate, especially if you're dealing with a female that's in a relationship with a male. They want to dominate a male. And so if you have no, if you're not steady, there's a difference between being a gentleman. It doesn't matter what you do. You'll never, ever be able to do enough or the right things for a narcissist. Your hair is too short, your hair is too long, your eyes are too big, your eyes are too little. You're fat, you're too skinny, your hair is too long, I think I said that, too curly. So there's nothing that you can ever do. And a lot of people get into a relationship with a narcissist, and you work so hard at trying to please a narcissist that you literally lose yourself. You come out of the relationship with a narcissist and you have no clue who you are or what you are. A lot of times when I get people that are in counseling, they tell me I don't even know who I am. That's because the narcissist has totally stripped you of who you are. And I was talking about illusions. When you're dealing with an illusionist or a person that uses the art of illusion, we will pay for great magic, magic shows. Remember David Copperfield, and I think his Angel somebody. I used to watch him on television. And then they have the one magician that came in and started to expose how these magicians, the great magicians, do their tricks. That's how they make their money. But the hand is quicker than the eye. And the biggest thing about an illusion is the fact that if I can focus you on something over here, If I can get your mind focused on something over here, you don't see what's going on over here because your full attention is over here. Well, a narcissist is the exact same way. They take false information and interject it to change your perception. Once they change your perception, you'll start believing the lie. But the other thing that they do is they can keep you so focused over here, you don't know what they're doing over here. Why do you think they use isolation? They use isolation because they know that there are people that catch them in their game. Not everybody is fooled by a narcissist, but not everybody knows that they're dealing with a narcissist. Some people just don't want to be bothered with a person that's fake. They don't want to be bothered. They can kind of see through the game. They hate to be around strong people, and they hate to be around people that's going to expose them or just call them out. Those are the ones they feel they have no, or they just hate them. And so they'll convince you to hate them as well. That's because of the fact that they know that that person can call them out on their game, and they can point out to their game. People that talk about narcissism, people that educate you on narcissism, they don't like you either. If you're one of the people that is educating people on what narcissistic abuse is, they don't like you either, because you're telling the truth. And that truth is going to either make people free, they're going to leave the situation, they're going to get more knowledge. I never try to convince a person to leave unless it's a dangerous situation in which the person can be killed or the children can be killed. As a mandated reporter, if there is reports of child abuse, elder abuse, the person is pregnant, I do report that. I will report that. And that will, but if you think about it, a lot of times when you get a person out of the relationship, you move them out of the relationship. Hey, Miss Brittany, if you get the person out of the relationship, they don't know how to survive without the other person because the person has integrated themselves in their head so much, in their personality so much, in their soul so much, that it causes the person to believe that they can't survive without the narcissist. And so here you're bringing people out of a domestic violence situation, but you're not educating their mind. You're not changing the way that they think. They have been groomed, they have been conditioned, they have been tormented, they have been trauma bonded. And like I said, if you go to my YouTube channel, Dr. Carmen Bryant, Overcoming Narcissist Abuse, you'll find videos if you start from the bottom video up. And I know some of the videos are 20, 30 minutes long. I want to take the opportunity. I like to be thorough in what I did. Thank you so much, Mr. Naylor, for saying that. I like to be thorough in what I'm talking about. No one ever taught me about abuse or narcissist abuse. Even when I was in my military career, no one talked about it. The military came up with the sexual, the EO, the equal opportunity representative, those that are being sexually harassed. It wasn't until I began to process out of the military, they were coming up with the sexual assault program, because it became real. People were coming out of the military. They were military sexual trauma, both on males and females. They were coming up with those programs, but never did anyone ever talk about domestic violence. I'm not sure. I would have to inquire now with people that are still in the military whether they're talking about domestic violence. They do have the family advocacy program in the military that interjects when a military member or family has been abused, but to talk about that should have been a part of the equal opportunity program or the sexual assault program. And most people didn't know that a wife can be raped in a marriage. And I think it's in 50. I don't know. It's not in all 51 states yet. I can't recall the number. I did it on one of the videos where it's the marital rape. And I can't recall what the number was. Not all states are there yet, I don't think. But a wife can be raped in a marriage. And it sounds, for most people assume when you're married, you can't just rape an individual. They're your wife or they're your husband. Yes, they can. They can be raped, and it's illegal. And it talks about it in the law over the United States. You can rape a wife, you can rape a husband, but really it kind of focuses more toward the wife. But a husband can be raped too, believe it or not. And I know that's hard to believe, and that's the shame behind abuse. Even with a narcissist, that's the shame behind it, because a male can be abused just like a female can be abused. A male can be raped just like a female can be raped. But then think about especially if you're dealing with a covert narcissist that's very secretive about what they do. Everybody loves them. Everybody think that they're great. They're funny. They're humorous. Most narcissists are good-looking people. I said most. Notice I didn't say all. I said most are good-looking people. You got 1,000, and they're out of 1,000, you might have 2, 3 that are ugly. Okay, but I'm exaggerating. But not all narcissists are attractive. I've seen the ugly narcissists, and I think I was more appalled at the fact that they thought they were good looking. I think I was shocked, and I couldn't say anything like, "Do you know that you're ugly?" I mean, or ask the wife like, "Do you know that he's ugly?" And then don't have the nerve to be jealous over your ugly duckling. Don't have the nerve to be jealous over other people with your mud duck. You're the only one who wants that mud duck. So every narcissist is not attractive. But then you have those that are also somatic narcissists. Somatic narcissists are ones that are very into their looks. A lot of people that have been in narcissistic relationships also have talked about the fact that they may be, excellent sexual partners, really great at sexual partners. And a narcissist, remember I was saying that a narcissist does not have the capacity to love another person. They don't have compassion for other people. They don't have a conscience. Everything to them. Thank you, Miss Brittany, for co-signing with me. But thank you so much for your support. But they're charming. A covert narcissist. So let's break it down. A covert narcissist is a very charming individual. People love them. They'll give the shirt off of their back. They're just very nice people. They're just awesome. They love to the public. The people that suffer the most is when they get home and their family members, those in private, their family members, close family member, husband, wife, kids. Those are the ones that suffer at the hands of a covert narcissist. Then you have the overt narcissist. Those are the ones, you have the low grade, the mid grade, the high grade, the elite, and then you have the great narcissist, the great narcissist, which those are the ones that have learned to temper their rage outbursts, because rage is also a tool. Everything that they do for a reason. The low to mid grade and mid grade going toward the more elite or the higher narcissists, they don't have control of their rage. They don't have control of their emotions. But when you're in a relationship with a narcissist, you are training them and they are training you. If you don't put your foot down and make a decision to get out of that relationship, it's not going to get any better. In the world of psychology, when we went to school, one thing that we learned, because we worked off the axis, and DSM-5, which is the DSM that we use now for mental health disorders and our diagnosis, well, they no longer have the axis 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But the axis 1 was mental health, anxiety, depression, those type, and the axis 2 was for the personality disorders. And they taught us that personality disorders cannot be changed. Those are ingrained personalities that, just like a person is just happy go lucky. You can tell a child when a child is young, they're kind of bubbly, they're happy, they're quiet, they're serious, they're thinkers, and so the personality is molded and developed as they're from 0 to, I don't know if it's 12, 13 years old, but the personality is being developed. And even though the personality is being developed, usually by the time they're an adult, teenagers to an adult, those personalities are hard grained. And if it's a dysfunctional personality disorder, such as narcissist, and I've spoke about it before, you have the autoimmune system, where the immune system begins to attack the body, assuming that the body is invading the body. And so it attacks. And so a lot of people have autoimmune deficiencies or problems or disorders. Well, narcissism is a defense mechanism went wrong. And usually it stems from some type of trauma in early childhood. I know this is a general statement. I'm not saying that all narcissists have been through this, but all the narcissists that I've ever had the opportunity to work with, all of them have been sexually molested in childhood, sexually assaulted in some type of way, and on top of that, physical violence, such as physical violence, abuse, neglect, rejection, those type of things. But normally, there's an entry point, just like with post-traumatic stress, where there's an entry point of trauma. And that entry point of trauma, that defense mechanism has now went wrong. If you read studies, it talks about kids, have a certain amount of narcissism, and adults, hey, Mr. Courtney, but adults have a certain level of narcissism. Well, that's pride. That's what we're talking about, pride. They have a certain sense of pride. But a narcissistic personality disorder is dysfunctional. It's the that defense mechanism that has went wrong. And as I said, the ones that I have met and have worked with, each and every one of the narcissists, those that have been diagnosed with narcissistic personality disorder, have been traumatized in their youth, and every single one of them that I met had a sexual assault, rape, molestation in childhood, and on top of that, physical abuse and rejection, neglect, or abandonment issues. And so Like I said, they're great illusionists. You meet narcissists, they put on their best performance. You speaking out of your mouth, you create the character that they're going to play. You create what you want in that person, and that person plays that. You have written the script to the movie. They don't have the capacity to feel emotions like we feel emotions. They feel rage, they feel anger, they feel jealousy, and they're always going to compete with you. They are competitive individuals. When you talk to them, I hear a lot of women say, I'm not going to let him run over me, and I go toe to toe, and I give him I give him a taste of his own medicine. You're never going to win with a narcissist, and so you may as well quit. They will drive you crazy, literally drive you crazy. By the time you're done with a narcissist, or a narcissist has discarded you, and you'll be discarded, unless they grow older and they don't have the opportunity to find a better supply. They usually become very angry, ornery type people. But you're not going to win with a narcissist. Everything that they do, they're going to gaslight, they're going to twist the story back around on you, they're going to project. They're going to project their thoughts and their feelings on you. They assume that the way that they feel, everybody feels. And so they never trust anybody because they don't even trust themselves. And so if you've been abused by a narcissist, the recovery process is long and arduous, and because you're having to go and reprogram everything that they basically messed up. Basically what they've interjected. Remember, illusion is to interject false information and change your perception. So you have changed your perception about how you feel, how you think, and the one thing that I look at a lot as a clinician is the fact that when you're dealing with a narcissist, you're dealing with a person that has totally been damaged, has been wounded, profusely, horribly, But as even though I went to I didn't get it. I went to the certification class for the batterers program. However, my intent was never to get certified to provide services to batterers in the program. I wanted to know what those that work with the batterers, what was their stories. And some of the stories were horrific. One of the stories over one of the batterers was, and the way he had no conscience. The guy, I think he was in prison for killing, I think his wife or his girlfriend, and he was court ordered to go through a batterers program. I don't know if it was a year long. The assessment and everything. Will come to find out, his story was, and he had no empathy. He had no conscience. He had no feelings whatsoever. He also was sociopathic, and he was sociopath and psychopath, which now is anti-personality disorder. But he had no feelings, and so what I found out was that when he was a little bitty guy, I think he was like no more than 2 or 3 years old. I think he was about 1 or 2 years old actually. His father, I think both of his parents used to put him in this bag, like a laundry bag, and put snakes in the bag. And so then they would hang him up on this. They would hang him up on this pole, and watch him as he's fighting. So imagine the fear and the terror this little boy is going through while he's fighting snakes in a bag. And so a person that's trying to defend themselves block out their emotions so they don't feel fear anymore, so they don't feel anymore. And so that's just an example, because I don't actually know all of the diagnoses that he had, but he no longer had empathy. He had no capacity to feel. So imagine just that story. But again, we have to make a choice as clinicians, and that's the same thing the instructor said. You have to make a choice. Either you're going to treat the batterer, or you're going to treat the person, or you're going to treat the survivors of domestic violence. It's hard to do both, because you have to have empathy for whichever one that you're treating, and it's hard to go back and forth because you're dealing with the abusers, the survivors, or you're dealing with the abuser, and the abuser has a story as well, and the narcissist has a story as well. I just happen to make a choice to work with those that have been abused and have been through narcissist abuse, because that also was my experience. So I do understand what the feelings are and the feelings of recovery. Recovery is not an easy thing, and I say it over and over again. Whatever you do, take your time before you go and you begin dating again. It takes a while for you to go and recover from something like this. It takes a while to recover, and I highly encourage you go to a counselor, go to a grief and loss counselor, because when you're discarded, you're going to A narcissist does not like closure. They do not like closure. And especially if you're a good supply, they're not going to close. They'll always come back and hoover. So it's like, and the questions that is normally asked, what did I do wrong? Was I pretty enough? Was I too big? Was I too skinny? Did I not cook right? Did I not clean the home right? Maybe if I could have done this, man, there's nothing that you did to cause the narcissist to discard you. They always are hoovering, or they're always love bombing someone in order to pull them in as another supply. You may have been the first source of supply, but then they have secondary and third source of supply. They have sources of supply that feed them fuel for whatever financial, sex, whatever that new supply or the other supplies will do to make them feel good about themselves. They're great pretenders, they're great actors, and remember, when you meet them, they're putting on a show. Their representative is there. Eventually the mask falls off. And the thing that I hear over and over and over again from women that come into counseling with me is, this is not I'm ready for the person that I met. You're never going to meet the person that you met unless they're trauma bonding you, or they're tormenting or abusing you. Your gift of complying to their control is the person that you had before. The gift that you get for complying to their control and finally agreeing with them or doing what they wanted you to do, the gift is, I'm going to give you some attention, I'm going to love you, and I'm going to give you compliments. And some women are so desperate to hear that they're willing to go, they'll provoke abuse just to get beyond that, to get back it's a cycle. It's a cycle to get back. That's what they want. And so if you have ever been caught up, I don't force women to come out of a relationship. I don't ask them why they're still in the relationship. One thing that I've learned is that when you begin to educate them and tell them what they have been through or what they're going through, that's when they begin to discover on their own that I'm tired of tolerating this and I have some self-worth. You have to know that you have self-worth. Male and females that have been through narcissist abuse, you have to make up in your mind everything that you do is a choice that you make. You have a choice to stay, believe it or not. I know for some people are willing to take those people that have material things, and that's another thing that a narcissist will do. They'll buy you material possessions, and they even lock up your finances to prevent you from being able to leave. And most women are willing to sacrifice the abuse to be in the abuse in order to have the material things. You're worth entirely too much. You're worth more than material possessions. You're worth entirely more than a brand new car and a house. All that stuff you can get for yourself. All that said, and for some women, I just have to be there. I'm not going to leave. You're not for me. I can't help you, because you have to make a choice in your mind to leave, and then you have to make a choice in your mind to recover. And the recovery process is hard. Sometimes it's harder than the pain that you were going through in the first place. And I remember there was a pastor that made mention that there was something going on with his back, and they had to cut into his back. It was a 6-inch cut in his back. He says that they repaired the back, and so whatever was wrong with his back was fixed. He said, but the pain that he experienced after the surgery was worse than the pain that he experienced prior to the surgery. So I'm telling you is that when you leave the relationship, because of the oxytocin in your brain, which is the same oxytocin as used for bonding and the same oxytocin as used in when it comes to addictions, is the same oxytocin that is working for you when it comes to love bombing and trauma bonding. So your experience of leaving the narcissist is almost the exact same, is the exact same feeling you're going to get from withdrawals. And most women, when they go through the withdrawals in the process of healing, of coming out of a domestic violence situation or narcissist abuse, that is the same feeling that a person is coming out of an addiction is coming out of. And it's so strong that sometimes you go back and you relapse, but as many times as you go relapse, when you get back into the relationship, the trauma is going to be worse. The abuse is going to be worse. The punishment is going to be worse. And so I just wanted to say that. I just wanted to come on live. Normally, as I said before, I usually sit down and study and I script. and then I pre-record so I can give you information, because I'm usually looking at the computer, getting some information and statistics and putting it together to do. But I wanted to come on unscripted and just talk. And so if any of you have questions, I'm going to kind of sum it up this evening. Thank you guys, Mr. Naylor, Miss Kim. Thank you so much for being on. Thank you guys. Thank you, Miss Katricia, Miss Brittany, Mr. Courtney. Thank you guys for coming on and supporting me. If you have any questions, I'll wait for just a few minutes to see if you want to ask any questions. Other than that, let's see. Miss Kim, you have any questions? Miss Yolanda, you have any questions? Anything you want to ask, you are welcome to ask me. I know the last video was like 30 minutes long because the cameras went out and the internet went out. So, but if you have any questions, please ask any questions. Is it hard? Is it going to be hard? I'm not going to lie to you. Yes, it is. When you come out of a relationship with a narcissist, they've gotten under your skin, they've gotten into your soul, they've gotten into your head. And so, in order to recover, you got to get them out of your head. You got to get them out of your soul. It's not time to go connect to another relationship. It's not time to go and be with someone else. Sometimes you have to be honest with yourself and just say, I'm not ready for a relationship. You have to be honest. Most of us, and I'm not saying everyone, most of us desire to be in a relationship. Most of us desire to be with someone in a healthy relationship. But you can't be in a healthy relationship if you're unhealthy yourself. If your heart is leaking and bleeding all over the place, what usually happens when you come out of surgery, they have to put you in a sterile environment. They have to give you what is it? They have to give you medication to prevent staph infections in the hospital. I think, Miss Brittany, you work in a medical setting as a caregiver. You know that when people come out of surgery, when they come out of major surgery, they have to monitor you to make sure that you don't get a staph infection or an infection at the site of the wound, and that the wound is healing up. So you have to stay in the hospital a little while so they can monitor you. They give you medication for pain. They give you medication to make sure you don't get infections, or and they check the wound as wound care. They do wound care. Well, if that's the case for a wound and major surgery, well, what do you think is the case for people coming out of relationship or domestic violence relationships? Especially a narcissist abuse. That is a big wound. That is a big tear at your heart. You're leaving out of there with your heart is bleeding. You only have so many pints of blood in your system, and the longer the relationship, the longer you've been in a relationship, the more damage it has done mentally, for some of you guys physically. People come around with scars, mental scars, post-traumatic stress disorder, and think about it. I teach about post-traumatic stress. You have post-traumatic stress where an event has occurred and now you're recovering from that event, but complex, something traumatic has happened. You're still having triggers and you're still responding, nightmares, and you're still responding to the event that has happened. But those that are complex post-traumatic stress is where the trauma continues to happen on a consistent basis. And so you've got to learn how to like yourself. Some of you guys don't even like yourself. How can you love anybody if you don't even like yourself? And then some of you don't even know yourself. You have to be okay with being by yourself. You have to be okay, and you have to heal. You've got to let that wound heal before you go connect and infect somebody or have somebody else infect you. And if you haven't learned from the relationship you've been in, if you're not watching these type of videos, whether it's me or anybody else watching these type of videos to understand what narcissist abuse is, it's inevitable that you're going to get back into another narcissistic relationship. But this time the things that you do know, now you're going to get into one that's even worse than the one that you came out of. And so hopefully this has helped this evening. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Sorry that I lost you guys earlier. But if you have any questions, YouTube, if you have any questions, Facebook, it says low internet network connection. So hopefully you guys are getting this streaming as we go. But if you guys have any questions, please post. If not, you can always leave comments in the comments. And I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. If you have not already, please go and subscribe to my YouTube channel. It is Dr. Carmen Bryant with a T. And I explain why I always say that, because there's a Carmen Bryan, and I think she's got a child by Nas. I do not have a child by Nas, and I've never dated Jay-Z. So that is not me. I'm Dr. Carmen Bryant, Bryant with a T, overcoming narcissist abuse. Stay tuned because I'm going to make it more searchable. So I may change it over to overcoming narcissist abuse or narcissist abuse and then put my name, Dr. Carmen Bryant, so that it's easy searchable on YouTube. I think the title is about this long on there. And so just to make it easier for search purposes, I probably just shorten and put narcissist abuse and then Dr. Carmen Bryant, so it's easy to, you can find me quicker. So if you don't have any questions, like I said, also hit the bell so you'll know when I come on, and maybe we can do this more often and talk to each other. And thank you guys so much for your support. I also have a professional Facebook page. This is on this side of the camera that I'm talking to. That's why I'm looking back and forth. So I have a professional Facebook page, which is Psychological Health Consultants and Services. That's a mouthful. Psychological Health Consultants and Services. And my YouTube channel is Dr. Carmen Bryant, Overcoming Narcissist Abuse. You can contact me at Dr. Carmen Bryant at Outlook.com, DrCarmenBryant at Outlook.com. Thank you guys so much for your support, and you guys have a great evening. And as my friend always say, go and be great, and I mean that. Thank you guys so much. It's going to take me a minute to log back off, but thank you guys so much.